Beautiful. Hey everyone, welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here.
Aynsley here.
Hello.
Hello. Right, let's get rid of some of that hiss. Hooray. Right, Aynsley, welcome.
Yes, welcome indeed.
This is Aynsley's second time on That Pedal Show. The first time we did it was a sort of...
It was Sans Dan.
It was Sans Dan. Yeah, Sans Dan, Sad Dan.
Very sad Dan.
Ayns was looking to expand his sound a bit. Put a link to the video here, or at least in the video description. And we came in and we talked a little bit about moving you on from where you were.
Mm.
So you were using one amp.
Yeah, I've been using the same setup for most of my gigging career, which is well over 20 years.
Wow.
And it was basically a thing of mainly just amp and guitar with very minimal pedals, like a booster or just... But I've always used... I don't know where it came from, I suppose because I started with a fairly basic setup. Just got into using the guitar volume, which just kind of vary from sort of clean crunch to overdrive. And then maybe a tube screamer or a wah as an extra bit of stuff. But that was kind of it, really. And went through a few different amps, different guitars and stuff. Found a setup that worked. Really happy with. And for the last, I suppose, 10, 12 years, I played in a 4-piece band with keyboards. And obviously when you've got keyboards, you can be quite almost lazy. You can kind of, a whole song, you can BB King it, do that. And you don't need to fill the sound because there's someone else doing it for you. And then I suppose, COVID hit. We managed to do a couple of tours, bizarrely, during the midst of all that. And
the Bring Your Mask tour.
Yeah. Strange that was, but we got out to play, which was a cool thing. And we went out as a 3-piece, just because the keyboard player couldn't make the tour, and also I was not quite sure, if we were even going to make any money at all. So I thought, let's go 3-piece. Straight away, I'm like, wow, there's this whole void of sound that needs. So the first thing you do is you start overplaying. Huh. And then I thought, oh no, I've kind of got this one sound, and that's all I've got. And I like the idea of adding delay and a few other things. And I watched the show, like many people, and I'm thinking, oh, right, okay, but I haven't got a clue how to do it. So obviously I came to see Tick Mailer there. And, you sorted me out with a wet-dry rig, and that was, what, a year and a bit ago?
It was a while ago, yeah. I was amazed how much time had elapsed. So, as I said, the link to that video will be in the video description. And it was sort of a voyage of discovery, wasn't it? It was You came in and you were like, I'm not really sure about delay. I don't know what I like. I don't know what I don't like. And by the end of the video, we'd plugged you into a wet-dry rig. And I genuinely thought that these months later, you'd come back and go, no, mate, it's not for me. It's too complex. I'm having a problem with it. But to our great surprise, that has not been your experience.
No, not at all. I kind of took it and ran with it. I realised that, like any journey of discovery, you have to give it the time. And it's like learning, we were talking about this morning over breakfast, weren't we? Like learning the guitar, if you're trying to improve a certain thing in your playing, you can't expect it just like that. You have to put in the time, and you've got to be patient. It's a slow process. So I kind of stuck with it, took it on a couple of tours. And the whole thing, obviously, I'm fronting the band, I'm singing, I'm thinking what I'm playing, I'm trying to play more, melodically, chords, all this stuff to fill the sound out, whilst also negotiating this whole new which, tap tempo delay, for many people that's just, it's just standard. But for me, I've never been there before. So, but I sort of stuck with it, and I've got so used to it now that I think to do a gig without it and without 2 amps running at the same time as wet-dry, I'd be like, oh, all this texture's gone. I've very quickly, I loved it. I loved it straight away. Really
That's very cool. That's very cool. So, okay, so what we're going to do today is Ayns is going to show us where he's got to using this stuff and what he's learned over the year or so of using it. Talk a little bit about the 2 amps setup. Ayns has got a new record that's going to come out in the middle of the year, so we can talk a little bit about that. Also, something very close to my heart. Ayns has brought along some really cool 70s Strats. And we'll have a little chat about that.
What I'd love to do, though, to get things kicked off, is that one thing you mentioned early on is how you use your volume control on your guitar.
Yeah.
And while we're getting things set up, I was sort of at the back of the room just going, oh my goodness, this is amazing. So I'd love to hear some of that.
Okay. So I suppose what I'm trying to get is during a gig, minimal pedal pushing.
Yep.
And just use the guitar. So I can be nowhere near the pedal board and I can be at the other side of the stage and I can still go from, so if I've got the guitar full up, so if we just engage each of these things, lots of hiss, sorry. So if I'm, I don't know, like in full text. And then go. Not the best example of
Oh, mate.
but basically everything, all the variations of like, whisper kind of clean, quiet to whatever, to crazy, obnoxious, loud is all here.
Right.
So I basically set all my stuff. So my amps, so like the Rift is set, that's my dry amp.
Right.
And that's set, that's basically set for overdrive.
Mm-hmm.
And the Fender, although that's a clean amp, I have, I suppose I'm trying to get the Fender to sound as close to Rift as possible. So that's got an overdrive kicked in as well.
Okay, there's a whole world of interesting right there. So before you did this wet dry thing then,
Yeah.
you're using your Rift signature amp, which sounds bonkers good, by the way.
Amazing.
Briefly, you say it's some cross between
Chris, we need to have a chat.
Marshall and a Fender kind of thing?
Yeah. Based on
Amanda.
A Marston.
based on a couple of my favourite
Marshall.
amps that I've just toured over the years, a couple of really cool 70s JMP Marshalls, which I've got, which the first one I got, basically it had been messed about with inside, either repaired or modified, but basically not stock.
Right.
I used it for years. It was just the best Marshall I'd ever tried, and it did that whole thing where it would, go whisper quiet and sweet, or loud and crazy. So we kind of used that as an inspiration, and then also some nice old Fender. I've got a couple of old sort of 60s Fenders.
Ayns is going on tour in a minute, and he is, bless him, leaving us his 64 Vibroverb and that Strat. So we're quite happy in many ways.
You can't take it all, can you? The van's only so big. But yeah, I suppose just like a couple of favourite amps. I basically took them into Chris's workshop and said, right, I really like the reverb on this. I like the way that compresses, and I like the grind on that one. Can we like just mix them all together? And Chris was like, okay. And it was a journey of a few years. I don't think Chris quite realised how far down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
You were prepared to go,
Yeah.
right.
And, I think after 3 or 4 years, not constantly for 3 or 4 years, but he would make something, a prototype, I'd take it on the road, do a tour of, 2 or 3
It's
weeks.
the only way to test things. It is the
fascinating.
only way.
Yeah. I'd ring him
Because you
up.
don't know. Until you're in the heat of battle,
Yeah.
you just don't know.
Yeah.
Especially when that's your life, isn't it? Your life is in a van on the road.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So in this scenario, it's bizarre because it's like, normally I'm kind of with a band and it's like playing on.
Oh, we can airband.
Yeah. I noticed you doing the double bass
Yeah,
thing
man.
earlier. But yeah, the
I was
thing
playing
is,
a wicked shuffle on the drums.
yeah,
it was awesome.
I saw that.
We were
Yeah,
locked in.
Yeah, ghost notes on the
Locked
snare
in.
and everything.
Yeah.
But I would ring Chris up, and in the middle of a tour, it'd probably be like 1 o'clock in the morning. Like, Chris, like, yeah, I've just done a gig. Mid-range, I don't know, I think we need a little bit more push at around the 5K area. And I think it was like, okay, just give me a call when you're back, bring it in. And we just tweaked it and just got to the point where, you know, I was happy. Because for me, yeah, it's like, it needs to be something I'm going to take out and use. And it's going to replace, using old amps is great, you know, but when you're on the tour and they're rattling around in the back of a damp van,
Yeah,
you know, 50, 60-year-old amps don't really, you know, travel too well. So, yeah.
Okay, let's unravel that then. So we'll hear the riff on its own. I'll get in there and do some switcheroo. And what you were about, I think, to explain was that you need to get the Vibroverb to a similar amount of gain as the riff, and therefore you add a pedal to do that.
Yes.
Because why?
Because, okay, I find it really hard to play into an amp that's too clean. I've got quite an attacky style. So if the amp's too clean, it's a little bit too peaky.
Yeah.
And when I back off the volume, it sounds a bit flat. So it's almost, I'm basically, I suppose, trying to smash the front end of the amp. Not smash it, but, you know, kind of like, I'm compressing the sound.
Yeah.
So, which is kind of, I suppose, what I'm getting naturally from the riff. It's an overdrive out. I mean, you can set it to clean, but we kind of dialed it in so it gives you that kind of grindy thing as its default thing.
Right, here's the riff then. I'll just turn the Vibroverb off for a second. So, hang on, which one's which? Stand by. So your core sound is the riff.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, well, I'll tell you what. So so this is completely bypassed. So this is with nothing on the board actually switched on. Right. So this is just guitar and riff. So, sorry, pickups, very, very noisy. So with the guitar on about, I don't know, I just basically do that until I get it to where it sounds, I'm like, that's about right. I've always probably got a little bit more than I need, but probably the most important pedal in all of this, in terms of my core sound, is this final booster. So if I kick that pedal in with it on 0 like it is now, so if I just play a chord, no change, right? But what you get is you only add, it basically just gives you more of this and more of that. Right. So it's very subtle. Doesn't sound like it's doing a lot, but it's basically just pushing the front of the amp, end of the amp. Sorry, a cup more coffee, please. It's pushing the front of the amp that bit hard. It's already quite overdriven and compressed, but it's pushing it that bit harder so that I can run this even lower.
Yeah.
So. Then I've got all this extra kind of, we go for like a rock thing. You get that. And it's kind of like, it almost, there's always enough there. So if it's too compressed and too overdriven, just back it off. This is like an overdrive control.
Yeah. And that, the other thing that the Freetone's got is a really nice buffer, so it really helps keep that sound bright when you turn it down. And it, man, it's such a cool sound. So, in order to add the Vibroverb, then I'll turn the riff off and turn the Vibroverb on, and we'll just hear that for a second.
Yeah. So just on its own, no pedals. Just classic Fender. So that is great when I've got the guitar. That's with the guitar at full. But as soon as I do this, it disappears.
Okay. Leave the guitar on 3 for me, can you?
Yeah.
I'll turn the Vibroverb off and the rift on.
Okay.
And does that hit both amps or does that just hit the
It
rift?
hits both amps.
It hits both amps. Okay. We'll do this on and off then. So here's just the Vibroverb and just the rift. Leave the guitar on 3.
Make a pretty good band, really.
Well, did you like my ghosting? Did you like my ghosting on the snare?
Yeah.
I've got the hat for bass.
I think you need to work on your intonation a bit. Okay. Vibroverb.
Yeah. Right. Do you want me to? I'm leaving it on 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the volume range you've got there is astounding. So the obvious question is, well, how on earth do you make that work? Because that volume range would just be too much for most people. It's too much.
It's too much.
Too much. Never too much. Never too much. Sorry. What is it? That's the blues version. I don't know that song. Sorry.
Sorry, I was lost in groove there for a second.
Lost in groove. So
you even up the gain differential with a pedal.
Yeah.
And what's that?
Okay, so it's a Royal Blue.
Yeah. Hello, Harry.
hello, Harry.
Overdrive by Mad Professor. And it's my favourite colour as well, purple.
Ah,
The Royal Overdrive in purple. I like that.
yeah.
It was already winning before I tried it. Purple picks.
And does that hits both amps or just the Fender?
Just the Fender.
Okay, so this is interesting. We'll turn this on then. Should we leave that on or should we turn that off?
It's up to you.
Let's just hear this for a second. So here's the Fender then.
Yeah, okay. Kind of close. It's an approximation.
Can we hear the range though with just the Fender with those two on now when you go like up to the top?
Oh yeah, okay. So that's on my rhythm sound, I suppose.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm going to feel like Stevie Ray mode.
And without that, remember we're just hearing the Vibroverb.
full.
Yeah.
So suddenly it's great for that. If you want to, I've got no kind of. Well, it's just disappeared,
gone.
doesn't it?
Yeah. And that might seem counterintuitive to a lot of people who view the amp as the kind of the core sound. Why add all that stuff to it in order to get it cooking? And I'm guessing the answer has got something to do with what then happens after the overdrive pedal.
Yes. Okay, so this is what... I mean, this was a real journey of discovery for me.
Mm-hmm.
That never using, certainly delay pedals. If I was to put the delay pedal into the rift, because the rift's already saturated and already at limits of its headroom, it's just going to be a mush. It's just going to... You're going to be distorting the delay.
Delay, yep.
Whereas by doing it this way, putting the delay after the overdrive, I'm delaying the overdrive rather than overdriving the delay.
Yes.
And it's totally the wrong... Well, this is the right way around to do it, because you maintain that clarity and control. There was actually a gig... So on the last time I came, anybody that watched it will have seen the Vibroverb was looking slightly more dishevelled than it is today.
I remember that, yeah.
Because Aynsley's son had gone at it with some 2-year-old gusto, right?
Yeah, he basically had a small tear, which looked really cool. And Xander was like, kind of went, no! Yeah. So it got to the point where I just thought, it's looking past the point of cool.
Yeah.
And it just looks like horrendous. So I took it to Chris at Rift, who very kindly put a new grill cloth on. Thanks, Chris, for that. But while it was there at the workshop for a week or two, until I could pick it up, I thought, I didn't realise all this delayed overdrive or overdrive delay. I thought, I need a second amp. I'll put one of the old Marshalls up as the wet amp. Because the Marshall is like the Rift. It's overdrive.
Wow.
And I did this gig and it was like, whoa, too much delay. And then you turn the mix control down, there's not enough delay.
Yeah,
it was just uncontrollable. So I realised at that point, for the wet amp, I need to have a clean platform.
Yeah.
Of course.
For those of you who are interested in wet dry and always ask this question, which amp should I use for wet and which for dry? By the way, this is not strictly wet dry. Anyway,
It is.
We won't even go there. We often say start using the higher headroom amp as your wet amp.
Yeah.
And Aynsley has just explained why that is. Now, that's not to say that you can't get glorious sounds running running reverb and delay into heavy overdriven sounds. It's a different thing, and it's not what you're looking for, so that's why you've gone this way.
Yeah.
And so basically, we've got our signal, everything on this top deck is guitars going through here, through the Octavia, through another overdrive pedal.
It's like a tube screamer thing that I kick in just once or twice in a gig.
Okay.
I'll put a diagram up.
And then we hit the booster.
Yeah.
And that's on most of the time.
Yes.
Right. And after this, it splits. One side of the split goes to the Rift amp, which is your signature amp.
Yes.
And then the other side goes into the overdrive pedal, and from there into the delay, into the modulation, into the wet amp. So
the only thing that the Rift amp sees is the top row. Yeah.
yeah.
Perfect.
So now if we can
The diagram will explain.
indeed. So now let's add the delay and hear with both amps on, and we'll hear how that sounds.
Yeah. Okay.
Alrighty.
So I'll turn both amps on. In fact, no. I think we've only got the Fender on at the moment. So let's just hear the Fender, and then as Aynsley's playing, I will switch on the dry amp partway through.
Okay, so
and wind it up.
Oh, wind it up. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you for doing that. Sorry for being so bossy.
It's all right.
What I was trying to do there was show you both dry and wet amp on its own, and just the fact that they are symbiotic in the same job of making it sound flipping awesome. Yeah. And it does sound really,
it's
really
amazing.
awesome.
It really is. Sorry, just one last thing. Dance, monkey, dance! I just want to hear because obviously the harmonious monk is only going to the wet amp, and this is one of my favourite things in wet dry, is hearing the harmonious monk just in the wet amp. So if I turn this on, and then we'll kick this on.
Yeah. The delay was a bit out of time with what I was playing, but I would have.
I was going to say
I would kick it in.
What an absolutely monumental sound.
That is a fantastic sound. When do you kick the Alberta in then? How does that work? What's that for?
Okay, I do Purple Rain. I do a cover of Purple Rain, and it's the bit. So it's already on the edge of, like, I can do that thing where you can get that kind of, note.
He's got a note.
And the Alberta kind of just gives you that extra bit of, you can get that. You can get that, like, endless kind of. I don't know. Let's do it. So if I'm playing Purple Rain.
Don't play too much of it. We'll get a copyright strike.
No. Okay, so if I'm doing something in that vein, so I've got my sorry, what was it? it's just a bit extra when needed. And
Because that's what you need. You need extra.
I just need more.
That
more.
is fantastic.
Come on, more is more.
Yeah, absolutely. More is more.
More is more. I think more is more is, for those of you who don't know, is an Yngwie Malmsteen reference. And it would seem to be a perfect segue to talk about big headstock Strats, right? So Yngwie, big fan of big headstock Strats. And so are you. And you brought some.
I never realised I was. I used to hate them. I thought they were the ugliest thing in the world. But yeah, I did bring some.
So we're going to borrow this one.
We're borrowing this one because
Yeah.
Ainsley's got some other ones which he's about to show us.
I've got a surplus.
And
So this is 70.
1970. Yeah.
It's,
Okay, so I'll
it's
grab this
very interesting because for those of you who do not know, Fender was acquired by CBS Corporation in 1965-ish and set about making a bunch of changes which, in common sort of folklore and general misunderstanding, anything after 1965 was a pile of rubbish, and it's just not true.
It's just not true.
Because some of the guitars in the mid-70s maybe perhaps weren't as beautiful as some of the ones before that, but that does not mean that there aren't some absolute corkers from throughout the whole period, right?
Yeah, because I mean, also Strat person,
Yeah.
Mick. You know, we've had this discussion many times that, like, you know, you can get good guitars and bad guitars from all eras, right?
Yeah, right.
You have, you know, in my opinion, you have to take each guitar on its own merit.
Absolutely.
It could be a Squire Strat. It could be a cheap knockoff copy. But if it just has that thing, it's, you know,
If it rings and
if it rings and it just does what you need it to do. There's, you know, there's a lot of snobbery and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but I
sure.
think the 70s
I'm
do
guilty
get,
of that. I have been guilty of that.
they do get kind of, yeah, I mean, it's well documented, isn't it? It's the 70s where, you know, Fenders, and I suppose, I don't know as much about this, but Gibson's probably worst decade.
Yeah.
But there are still some good ones out there.
And the reasons for it being the less good decades was because, you know, rock and roll music and electric guitar just went through the roof. And so everyone wanted electric guitar, so they were trying to make as many as they possibly could. And,
Yep.
yeah.
you know, this is interesting, right? So 70 is interesting because it retains most of the features of what we would call a pre-CBS Strat in terms of the bullet truss rod hadn't turned up yet. It's still a 4-bolt neck.
We'll do some close-ups.
Yeah. Still 4 bolts on the back there. What else? They would have been polyester finished by then, but Aynsley's had this one refinished in nitro for the body, but it's the original poly on the neck.
Which feels really nice,
It does
actually.
feel nice when
Really
it's-
lovely.
when it's got some years on it.
Yeah.
They would have had grey bottom pre-CBS style. No, not pre-CBS. They would have had grey bottom mid-60s style pickups.
Right.
Bent steel saddles, right? And a steel block.
Yeah. So all that stuff is, you know, it hadn't changed from when they first came in. And I think just because I suppose the last couple of years I've had a bit of time on my hands, I've done a lot of reading up on this. About mid-71 is where the change happens, and you get the bullet truss rod, the 3-bolt neck, and the bridge. It was like a cast. I think it's called Mazak.
Do you have...
Yeah.
Do you have...
I do actually.
Okay,
have.
awesome.
Let's step through it chronologically. Before
Okay.
that, you've got another 70.
Yes, I have.
Which you've just picked up.
This is new to me. So this is also on just passing you. There you are.
Thanks.
So that's a 70. Original. I mean, that's all original. That's original finish.
Seriously?
Yeah. So that would have been a custom colour or whatever they call it.
Wow.
Candy
Apple red.
And it was owned by
It was
Bernard
owned by
Robbins.
Bob Rowe.
Bob Rowe, was it?
Yeah, he was a DJ on Radio Nottingham or Derby, I think, for years.
way.
And he was into Hank Marvin. Hence, he either ordered it in that
okay.
colour or saw it hanging in the shop and bought it. And played all that kind of stuff on it.
That's really cool. That's really, really cool. So what we see here is a round lamb maple cap fingerboard.
Yep.
So earlier Fenders would have had one-piece fingerboard and neck. It would have all been the same bit of wood. But this has got a separate fingerboard on the top.
Yeah.
Lacquer on the front of the fingerboard there. But otherwise, all the same specs as that one.
Yeah.
Super, super cool guitar. We'll hear it in a sec. And then as we were talking about, we go forward.
Chronologically. Okay, so then you so this is a 70. This is a 74. So
That's one of your favourite guitars, right?
Yeah. This one. So okay, at this point you've got the bullet truss rod, the cast, the cast bridge assembly, which a lot of people.
Oh, okay,
The cast
right.
saddles.
So
Wow.
you've actually got block saddles there.
But
Yeah.
you were telling me you've switched that out and tried other stuff, but you prefer that.
Well, yeah, because I bought this guitar just based on the sound and the feel, and also I thought it looked pretty cool as well. It's got, I mean, this is quite.
That neck is amazing.
I've never seen another one like it,
So we will do some details. It's got some lovely bird's eye in it.
and it just had this, it just thing, and I bought it based on mainly the sound. I mean, a guitar can knock $1 million, and if I don't like it as an instrument,
course.
I'm gonna not bother. But I just liked it, and had it for about a year.
Got to hear a bit of that one actually.
We're going to hear them all.
Okay.
Had it for about a year, and then of course I started to read up and go, oh right, they're supposed to be terrible. Right, I'm going to upgrade it and make it sound better.
Even better.
So I tried one of the a repro of one of these earlier ones.
Yeah.
Put it in, and I could tell it changed it, and instantly I just didn't like the guitar anymore.
Yeah, right.
I just thought it's lost all of its mojo.
Wow,
And
that is
whatever it is
mad.
about this guitar that I like, it's as it was.
Makes no difference though,
It's only the pickups that make any difference, according to the internet. Tell you what is interesting about all these.
Yeah.
None of them are heavy. So one of the
None
things,
of them are heavy. Yeah,
one
that's
of the-
amazing.
Everyone thinks that every 70 Strat is a boat anchor.
Yeah.
Not the case. This is heavier. This is about the same weight as all my Strats. As is that one. Is that one bit weightier?
No, that's probably a bit lighter.
That's lighter. Yeah.
So there are, I mean, what's a typical, probably 7.5 all there. I've never actually weighed any of my Strats, but if it's heavy, I'll probably put it back. But again, I suppose everybody wants light guitars now, don't they? But like some of the Les Pauls from the 50s, they're like £9 and £10, but they sound amazing. So it's,
we should qualify that and say that, light guitars, it's the bane of a lot of guitar shops' life, where the first question anyone asks is, how heavy is it? And I'm guilty of that. And actually, there's plenty of great sounding guitars out there that are a bit heavier.
Yeah, totally.
It so happens that of the sum total of guitars I've ever played in my life, I tend to prefer the light ones.
yeah. As long as it feels comfortable, it's got to feel good and sound good. They're the primary things for me. And if it looks good as well, it looks pretty cool, which I think this one does.
Mick comes
then-
to the opposite end of the spectrum. It's got to look good. It's got to look good. It's got to look good.
Yeah.
These all look fantastic.
They all do look great, actually.
Yeah. That's particularly cool.
But this one, it just has this thing. I don't know what it is. I mean, I suppose. Should we?
Come on, and let's have some.
Should we have a bit?
Show us. Explain to us the technical explanation of thing.
Okay. Very old. So if I just go, I mean, I suppose let's go full beams on it. shall we? And if we go full beams. I mean, they all sound like Strats. I know that, you know, but there's just some guitars that just have a certain thing in the sound. You know, there might be something in the mid range, or it might be. I don't know what it is. Just
it's palpably different. I mean, what do we
thing.
say? Maple fingerboard, slightly different other things. Let's listen to that one.
I'm sure they still sound exactly the same. So. Sounds exactly the same.
That sounds different to me.
Mid range is different.
It's a bit softer sounding, I think.
It's different. It's definitely different. I mean, whether it's different enough that it comes across out there in YouTube land, I'm not sure, but it's definitely different.
And I don't know,
Wow.
it's like different guitars. Sorry if I've made you blow
No,
your
it's
ears a bit.
No, it's brilliant.
I've had a last today and yesterday. I'm questioning everything now. What a great sound.
Different guitars will just make you go for different things. It's a bit like picking up a Les Paul,
Yes.
or a Junior.
Yeah.
You're a really cool one there. Or a Telly, or they're going to make you go for different things. And for me, different. I've got quite a few Strats. I've got one Les Paul, 1335. I've got one of everything, but lots of Strats. And because Strat is the main guitar I play, and just different ones will just bring something different out.
What I really love about this journey so far is that, you know, your thing is very definitely dynamic off the guitar, off the volume pot into an amp that's, you know, pretty cranked. Qualify that, maybe say like a vintage style amp that's pretty cranked. It's for those of you into your metal and super heavy gain. It's not that kind of cranked. It's old amp kind of cranked, and that's your thing. And but by adding pedals and going wet dry, it feels like you've enhanced that.
Yeah.
Rather than
you haven't taken anything
rather
away
than
from
squashed
it.
any of it away, or taken that aspect of how you play away. It's enhanced.
It's simply added.
Is that fair?
Yeah, the important thing for me was, you know, enhancing the rig like we've done here. I didn't want to lose anything that I'd already got, because I'd worked so hard. You know, the whole, like the riff amp, like that's, if I could say there's one thing that has the sound I want in it, it's that amp, because we spent so long working on it. And I didn't want to lose any of that or compromise that. I just wanted to add to it. And so building the rest of, you know, it's almost like we've built around it. Which, you know, it's like putting on an extension. You've got a house that you really like, let's build a bit here. Just, that's a really weird analogy, isn't it? But it's just like, it's just adding to it. You know, you really like what you've already got. You don't want to change
You want a
it.
nice house, but you want a summer house. And a spa in the back garden.
Hot tub.
You know, all that stuff. But you still want to be able to go in to your abode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, sir. This analogy is wearing thin. It's great to see. It's great to see. What so we got one final Strat to have a quick look at then.
Yeah. Okay.
What?
Well, you were talking about Yngwie earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, go on.
You know, I have to have them all on.
So this is 1975. So by this point, they're terrible. By this point, they'd gone to flat pole pickups.
Oh wow!
So up until 74, which Mick's got, they've still got the staggered.
I did not know that.
In 75 or thereabouts, they went to flat pole. So that was seen as a step further down quality.
Yeah.
It's supposed to get heavier from then. And the relative value. So like, in terms of like what these guitars go for versus anything after 71, once they went to the 3-bolt.
3-bolt and bullet truss rod is where they
obviously
did.
goes down.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. So, right, these two here are 4-bolt.
That's a
And
3.
those two are 3. Okay.
So,
That dates them after what?
71.
71. Okay.
Yeah, mid 71, I think. So this is a 75. So it's got it's flat pole. They're terrible. They're even worse.
That's all original, right?
Yeah.
That's where is all original.
Yeah,
That is
it's.
just so cool.
I bought this just because I thought it just looked super cool, and the guy that I bought it off was an Yngwie fan and had
no
it set
way.
up with 8s, and
But he hadn't scalloped the fingerboard.
no, fortunately,
He couldn't get through the
Couldn't get the
finish.
lacquer. Yeah.
and I just thought it just looks, because they were obviously painted in poly. I thought to wear through a poly finish, unless you've got the belt sander on it, I could just tell it just looked genuine. I mean, most of this is actually chipped off. But I just said, what's it like? How much does it weigh? It's like, it's really light. It is. It's the same as those. It's 7.5. I don't know, whatever. He says, it's the best Strat I've ever had. I just fancy something different. So I.
Only guitar players say things like that, don't they? It's the best guitar I've ever had. Why don't you buy it?
Yeah, but again, this is just. It's got a thing.
Come on, then.
I'm going to play the same thing because I've run out of riffs. I don't know. Let's play some blues. It's just cool. I really like it.
That sounds mega.
That's extraordinary.
It really does sound mega.
Do you want me to put those on the rack?
No.
Dan's happy. I'm happy. All right. There's a couple more things we need to cover. One is, let's just briefly mention, you do have a new record coming out in middle of the year?
Yeah, sort of middle of the year, sort of back into the spring, sort of June, July-ish. We haven't got an exact date yet, but yeah, just working on all the...
Okay, in which case maybe we'll talk about that another time. But Aynsley's played us the tracks. It's really flipping good, mate.
It's really awesome.
And I appreciate we're on camera and I'm saying that. It is really, really, really good. It sounds great. The songs are banging. The
Your
guitar
vocals are
sounds.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew you sung. I didn't know you could sing.
Okay. Well, thank you very
That's
much.
awesome.
That's
well,
like
thank you.
that's blues guitar player's curse, isn't it?
Well, it's the thing is, you're kind of... I remember going to jam sessions when I was like 16. My dad used to drive me everywhere. Dad, amazing.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, thanks,
Oh,
Dad.
yeah.
Awesome. And Mum, they used to take me everywhere. And I used to go to jam sessions. I would just get up as this spotty kid that could play blues guitar reasonably well. I didn't sing. And of course, there would always be someone else singing. And I don't know who it was, just one night, a guy took me to one side and says, right, it's just, yeah, looks like you got the hang of that. When are you going to get up and sing one? I said, don't sing. don't sing. No, I'm not into that. He says, well, as long as you don't sing, you're always. Would you like to front your own band? I was like, yeah, I'd love to. It's like, well, there's very few people, successful guitarists, that have made a career as just guitarists. There's obviously a few.
List them in the comments below. There are a few, but point taken.
He basically said, like if you sing, straight away you're in control.
Yeah.
You can call the shots on what songs you do, and you can also,
And more women come to the
stand a
gigs.
chance of getting some ladies to the gig.
I just
apologies for the inherent
and
sexism in that comment, but it is true.
I hated it for years, but then because guitar is something I picked up really early. I was like 8 years old, and when you're a kid, you just immerse yourself in it.
Yeah,
I didn't start singing until I was sort of close on 20. So,
wow.
But yeah, I'm kind of glad I did, because then it meant I could, do what I do. Be an artist, write songs, and do your thing. So.
Yeah, it's cracking. Have you got a name for the record?
It's called Along for the Ride.
Along for the Ride. Okay, well, please look out for that middle of the year-ish when there is actually a release date. And in the meantime, you always seem like you're on the road now. And thankfully, COVID is under control, shall we say? More under control. You're able to be on the road again. Yeah,
like really happy to be. Kind of missed it hugely. And I think everything's sort of starting to settle down. I think people are coming out to shows now. I think it's just taken a while for people to kind of. Yeah, it's going to be this long transition. It's not like a night and day thing, but yeah, we're out on the road this year. We got quite a lot of UK stuff this year to go with the release of the album. Germany, Switzerland, all over the place.
How was it? Because you spend your whole life on the road.
Yeah.
How was it? How was COVID for you?
Horrible. I've never not gigged. I've never not done it.
Yeah, right.
And I think it wasn't just like the obvious financial impact of suddenly the life and sort of disappearing. It was it's like a drug, playing, and I get such a buzz from it that. So mentally, for me, I really struggled during the lockdown. Really struggled. I felt quite down, and just ultimately just very fed up, because although I could play at home, I didn't get that buzz of
no
playing.
No one's at
with
home
people.
throwing money to the mailbox outside, going, more Aynsley, more.
And I did a couple of these sort of live stream things. Which I took part, like sort of festivals where there's you do like 3 or 4 songs and there's multiple artists. I thought it was the most bizarre thing, because she's kind of just. I was in my music room at home just playing to a camera, and there's probably several thousand people watching. But
funny that.
So to actually go out on the road again was much needed.
Yeah, sure.
How did it feel then? When you stepped out onto stage again and there were people there?
It was just amazing. It was just amazing. And even like some of the show. I mean, we actually started out on the road like sort of last July. As soon as things opened up, we were like, right, let's hit it. And some shows, the turnouts could have been, quite small.
Yeah.
But say there was 50 or 60 people that came. Those 50 or 60 people haven't been to a live gig for 2 years.
Yeah, sure.
We hadn't done a gig, so the atmosphere was electric.
Yeah.
And probably the funniest part was when we first rehearsed, because we hadn't played together for 2 years, got together in a rehearsal room. My drummer hit his snare drum. I was like, whoa! You have to turn that down. I'd forgotten how loud a live band is.
Yeah, right.
And I just got used to playing at home, on like half or whatever. And then you get your amps up to like stage volume. And you're like thinking, I was actually diagnosed with hearing damage a few years back. And I just couldn't understand it until last year. I was like, that's why I'm a bit deaf.
Because you've been doing that for so long.
Yeah, but
had you lost any gig fitness at all? How did it feel to like? Did you just drop straight back into it, or
that's definitely one thing I'm scared of, right? Yeah, because like doing 2 45-minute sets, I don't know if I'll last the first set. Just out of the guitar, hang around, going, half an hour, going, are we there yet?
It did take some getting into, and because I'd sort of played throughout the lockdowns, and I'd sort of kept singing and exercising and stuff like that. So tried to keep as much on my game as I could. But of course, it's not until I remember I was telling Mick that all my guitars, because I have my guitars they're all on half a step down, but I use 11 to 54.
Mm.
And
you use a very respectable action.
yes, it's not low.
No.
It's not crazy high, but it's not low. You do have to work at it. And during the lockdown, I actually thought, this is hard. Well, let's put some 10s on there. Let's get the action back down to where everybody else has it. And I got used to playing like that. As soon as I went into studio to start recording the album, which we kind of recorded throughout the lockdown when we could, as soon as I got in and started digging in, I'm like, no, I need to put the bigger strings back on. And when I started gigging, again, even more so, because you got the adrenaline kicking in then. I was like, no, what am I doing with these? I need to need to make my guitars really hard work again.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because it's a bit like...
Well, you've spent God knows how many years playing like that, haven't you?
Yeah, and I actually questioned it.
Yeah.
So lots of things happened over the last couple of years. I actually started to question a lot of things. Why have I got my guitar set up like this? No, this is ridiculous. And then as soon as I went back out and gigged again, I thought, no, the reason I have a bit higher action and bigger strings is because, I'm not crazy aggressive, but I'm certainly not a light player. I do dig in. But I had lost some of that. And I think the first gig I was kind of, rather than... I'd lost that kind of to it. And I think even when I came on down here, when we did the wet dry thing for the first time, I'd not played into a loud rig for ages. And
of course.
And I was my playing then was probably quite polite to what it is now, because I've gone out and gigged again.
Yeah.
And that whole thing of playing live and, like you said, the gig fitness and that thing that you get when you do a few gigs, it's hard to explain, but it changes you as a player.
Yeah, I guess you could make the comparison with any of you do regularly that you're totally used to doing, and it might be something as simple as making a meal, or I don't know what it is you do in your life, but it's a natural thing to do, and if you stop doing it, then it becomes unnatural, and it just takes you a minute to remember again, isn't it? So, well, it's good. It's heartening that, and we appreciate that not everywhere in the world is the same, and we appreciate that some people still are struggling with COVID and COVID restrictions. Suffice to say that here in most of Europe, things are loosening up to the point where you can go out and gig again. And for that, we are extremely grateful.
Indeed.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you are as well.
Yeah. Very happy about it. Yeah, that was the other thing. When we started gigging again, August last year, so August 2021, I think we did so many festivals and stuff outside of the country that also, first of all, you had obviously the COVID, rules to follow and all that sort of stuff, which were changing week by week. And then also with the, we needed a carnet. And of course, driving over, you have to basically, list, you have to, it's like a passport for your equipment.
Yeah.
So when we drive over to Calais and we go over to Germany and such, we take all our own gear, but you have to list everything. So it's like an itemized list. And we decided to commit to a set of gear, for the next year. So
the thing about the carnet is, right,
so we can't change anything.
No, we can't change anything. But it does take a long time, and it does hold you up at the immigration. But at least it's really expensive.
At least it's a giant amount of admin.
It's just, I'm fortunate that my amazing, incredible wife, Steph, who, we work together with this whole music thing. She runs she's my manager. She does all that. Right. She does all the headache stuff, all the stuff that basically takes anything up here. She's the smart one. I just play the guitar.
We got one of those called Catherine.
Yeah. And so she kind of sorted all that, but she basically said, look, I need a list of your gear. So of course I just sent her a WhatsApp. 3 guitars, 1 pedal board, 2 amps. She's like, She's like, no. Which guitars, serial numbers, value, year, right, pedals. What's the pedal called? What's the serial number? I couldn't get the Velcro off these things. So I'm like, yeah, okay. So, I'm kind of tied to that for the next year, but I've got so used to it.
Oh, it sounds flippant
great.
fantastic.
It does sound really, really great.
Yeah, I'm really really happy with it. And it does get some admiring glances, people taking...
I think the only thing
photos,
missing is
which
a
I've never
pedal
had
show
before.
sticker on it somewhere. But I would love to hear your Patrick Eggle guitar
Oh, yeah.
as well. Ayns was playing that a bit earlier, P90 single cut, which we'll hear before the end of the video.
Amazing.
Okay, cool.
Shall we do a finger snap, Dan?
Indeed. Hang on.
We all have to finger snap together.
Okay.
That's the rule. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
And we're back in the room.
Okay. It is simply to say cheerio at this point, and then we're going to let Aynsley play us out. So
Yes, indeed. So massive thank you for watching. Massive thank you to you, kind sir, for coming up and hanging out with us. It's been awesome.
Well, thank you to you both. It's been informative and putting the world to rights and a lot of fun.
Entertaining and yet educational. That's what we aim for on the Pedal Show.
Infotainment.
Indeed. Massive thank you for watching. Thank you so much for all of our patrons on Patreon.
Indeed. Well, you might be able to listen to this as a podcast
That'd be great.
if I can remember to hit record.
Indeed. Massive thank you to anyone that's gone to thatpedalshowstore.com and grabbed some merch. We go.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, please do that. It's the primary way we fund this store, and we should send you away with some goodies to wear on tour.
Great. Yeah.
Sorry,
I like coming down because I can always raise your merch.
Yeah, like I did, more
Stock.
t-shirts. And also, please go to thatpedalshop.com in the US if you are in the US and you want to buy any pedals or other things, accessories and all that kind of stuff.
Yes. Thank you to our preferred retailers in the UK and Europe is,
Anderson's Music of Guildford in Surrey
and our dear friends in Australia.
would be Pedal Empire of Brisbane in Queensland.
Fabulous.
I believe that's it.
I believe that's it.
AinsleyLister.co.uk.
Yeah.
Hit that up. Get schooled.
Indeed. You do holiday camps and not holiday camps, like weekends away and
He owns
weekend.
Butlins.
Yeah.
We do sort of I can't speak up. Residential guitar workshops. Yes.
Awesome.
Great fun. Well, I always have my bass player and drummer there, so there's jamming in the evening. Basically a chance for people to immerse themselves entirely in guitar for an entire weekend.
Amazing.
Jamming, learn some stuff, and compare gear, which is always a
Details of which you can find at AinsleyLister.co.uk.
absolutely.
There
Lovely.
we go. And if you
Right.
go there, you'll learn to do this.
Guaranteed.
Okay. Right. Play.
Thank you.